Hey there, everybody, it's Rush from Path Let's Pelt, and we're here with our dear friend Cricket Butler of the Whitefish Bike Retreat. So we've been up here during the summer, and it is clearly not summer.
No.
So Cricket's going to give us her winter fat biking tips. But before we jump into that, tell us about the retreat during the winter. You've got a bunch of new things. You've got some cool trail prizes.
Yeah. So we got a couple things going on. We actually have, so we groom some trails in the winter for fat biking, a 33-inch track that we set with a groomer and a snowmobile.
Yeah.
And we put in about 10 to 18 miles, depending on the weather and the conditions. We also rent the fat bikes here, trail side, so you don't have to like go rent a bike and then go lug it somewhere.
Right.
So you can always rent here, just call ahead and let us know about the availability. And then we're also doing this winter gear hunt this year because the trails out here are new and we've just started putting them in last year. And we also want to get people engaged in using those trails. So we came up with this winter gear hunt. And what that is, it's like a big treasure hunt. And we had all these amazing companies donate prizes and items. And we've created these stashes. So someone just found the first one. It was a Glacier Cycler. He donated a $100 gift certificate.
Right.
And we stashed it out and we put clues every day until someone found it. So that's a great little gift. And then Friday we'll put out another gift.
And they're like really nice prizes. Like you've got a bike packing set from Ortlieb.
Ortlieb is giving us a full set bike pack gear. We're going to do that one in the spring. Terrain tires,
cool.
Studded Cake Eater tires.
Wow, those are expensive.
Those are expensive, and those are like the holy grail of fat biking tires. So those are going to go out in a few weeks. REI, as I donated 2 lift tickets and a couple little items. Those are going out next week.
So where should people go to figure out the clues and when the gear drops are?
Oh, good question. So like Facebook, our Facebook page, and our Instagram. We'll post the first ones Friday, like the first clue on Friday. Yeah. And then every day after that until it's found. Yeah.
And because it's like fairly new, it sounds like there's a relatively good chance if you come out here, you can get those items.
That's right. That's right. And you just got to get out and just, follow the clues and just explore,
So let's get some winter riding tips.
Sure.
We were talking earlier, I come from a much sunnier place.
Yes, you do.
You live in a place near a place called Glacier, which sounds cold, is cold.
It is cold, yes.
So what are like the big mistakes that a lot of people make when they go, when they try winter cycling, fat biking for the first time?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to say probably some of the big mistakes are, one, overdressing. So people, it's cold when you start, and as soon as you start an activity, you start to sweat, and your heart rate goes up. Right. So for me, I like to start a little colder, like this. But I always carry the gear with me on the bike so I can layer later, like if I stop. Because one of the biggest things is if you overexert and you're sweating and you stop, you're going to get cold really fast, and that's very dangerous. Right. So that's probably the biggest one.
I think that's my biggest. Yeah, I did that yesterday. Like we went out for a quick fat bike ride, and I tend to overdress because I'm afraid of this white stuff.
Yeah, I know, it's okay.
Halfway through, I was like sweating, and then like we had to descend back down into camp, and definitely got cold.
It's cold. Yeah. And if you didn't have the sweat, or if you controlled the sweat a little bit, and you can minimize that when you come back in. Right. And then always zip up and all that, So layers, multiple layers, always.
Yeah. It also sounds like managing your level of exertion. It's completely different from summer where you can like hammer it out, get sweaty, but you also have to kind of know your pace.
Yeah, for sure. And I will go out and hammer in the summer, and a lot of people hammer on the fat bikes, but really what you really want to do is just kind of cruise and go slow, and that's where your best traction is too. Right. So the footprint of this bike is quite large. It's 4.8 tires. Right. And with that, you want to get all that grip. So if you went out and exerted and put a lot of power to your wheel, you're going to spin out. Right. Whereas if you just kind of grind up, you have all that traction still in place. Yeah.
So let's talk about the tires a little bit. Like what PSIs do you usually run the tires at?
Again, it depends on the conditions. That's another probably big problem that people have is overinflation of the tires. Right. So for these tires to get the maximum traction, you want a little bit lower PSI. So I'll run anything depending on conditions, like 3 PSI to about 8. Yeah.
So that's like if you push down on it, it's like visibly like compressing.
Yes. So if it's a really soft, mushy snow, lower pressure. Okay. Like I will literally ride around 2 to 3, probably around 3. Right. And you can see the tires almost like a pancake. But you can keep moving. Right. And then the harder, firmer the snow, a little bit higher pressure. Yeah. For sure. So.
Cool.
I adjust them all for every ride, every day.
Yeah.
They're different.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the extremities. That's a big challenge that lots of people have, keeping warm. What are these things?
These are called pogies, and there's different types of pogies.
Yeah.
You know, Bar Mitts makes a really good simple one that's like a neoprene.
Right.
These are 45 North. These have a lot of, these are like the Cadillac of the pogies, I think.
Right.
There's also some down pogies out there.
Yeah.
So what happens is, you know, the wind that you are experiencing when you're out fat biking, even with a really heavy ski mitt,
Right.
that wind still is affecting your extremities, your fingers.
Yeah.
The pogies, the whole premise behind the pogies is to keep the wind off.
Okay.
Right. So I like these because you can ventilate these from the top and the bottom.
Right.
There's a little pocket in there. You can put stuff in there. You can put your snacks in there and keep them warm.
Right.
When you want to eat it and it's not frozen and about to break your tooth off.
Nice.
I put little those chemical hot hands in there, and it just like heats these little things up like little ovens.
Right.
It's very toasty. Sometimes I don't even wear my little gloves. I'll just put my hands in there.
Yeah, I found that too. Like before landing on like a bar mitt, you know, we tried out, you know, spent maybe hundreds of dollars on different like gloves, and there's just a point where a glove just won't cut it, and you have to do something like a pogie for sure.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and I put the hot hands in my gloves, and it still didn't work. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna buy the mitts, and I did, and it was worth every penny.
Right.
It makes your ride a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, let's talk about the feet. I have big problems keeping my feet warm. Like I think we chatted. You mentioned something about battery-powered socks at some point.
Oh my God, I love them. So for skiing, I love the battery-powered socks. For fat biking, you can, and it depends again on how long you're going out for,
Right.
what the conditions are.
Right.
There's a lot of factors on how you dress each time. Normally, I'll go out for 2 to 3, maybe 4 hour max. I don't do a lot of crazy stuff. I like a thinner sock and a heavier winter boot, like a hiking boot.
Okay.
Something that you might wear when you're snowshoeing. And then I wear gaiters over that. And that does 2 things. It keeps my legs a little bit warmer, and it also keeps the snow out. If I were to step off the bike and into the powder,
Gotcha.
it doesn't go into my boot.
Right.
So my feet really don't go cold.
Okay. So what do you look for in terms of the boot? Is there like a certain like Primaloft-ness, or like what? Like how do you discern like a good winter boot from one that probably won't work so well?
So I guess I look at the rating.
Okay.
Like I'm a cold-natured individual.
Yeah.
So I like the negative range. Like anything like negative 20 and below is going to keep my feet warm.
Right.
So you know, Sorel, Solomon makes really good boots. I think these are Solomon's that I have on now.
Yeah.
45 North makes great boots. Some you can clip in, some you don't clip in. It's all a personal, you know, preference on what you're doing and where you're riding and how you're riding.
Right.
Yeah, but I think I look at that overall temperature rating.
Yeah.
And the waterproofness of it too.
Yeah. So is there any other like random winter cycling tip or some kind of winter cycling bit of gear that you never leave the house without?
I never leave my house without extra layers.
Yeah.
So I always carry a saddlebag on the back, and this one is from Ortlib. It's waterproof, which has been great.
Yeah.
We'll be giving some away later in the season on the winter gear hike. So make sure you follow that. But this bag, it's going to keep everything dry, and I keep extra mitts in there, a hat, a waterproof layer, a down layer, matches, snacks, a light. Like this is my survival kit right here. If something were to happen to me and I was 3 hours out and the snow got soft and it's like at the end of the day, you're going to be hiking back.
Well, thanks for all the winter riding tips. Be sure to check out their Facebook page and Instagram for the tips to find the goodies, which sound amazing.
Yes, REI's next week.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And if you guys want to go to a place where you can do some winter fat biking, like literally out the door, like we're staying at the lodge here. There's a whole system of trails like on property and connects to the larger trail system.
Yep.
You know, Whitefish Bike Retreat, awesome during the summer, but pretty awesome during the winter as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Russ.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.